Sometimes we're so focused on a goal that we forget what happens once we reach it. I made my dream come true when I bought this 25-hectare Swedish farm. But what happens next? How do I run a farm? How do I generate income? How do I manage it alone? From the biggest projects to the smallest, I'm up for trying. Today I'm doing some work on my chicken coop that was already there when I moved in. I try not to go over the top. After all, chickens don't care about perfection. First, I remove the random sticks they have been sleeping on. It's incredible how much they poop during the night, so I wanted to move them closer to the wall for easier cleaning. The 4 nest boxes on the wall are functional, and as long as I don't have a lot of hens, this will do just fine. I did want to improve them a little bit by covering the roof as they poop on it and adding a landing branch in front of the boxes for easier access. I wanted to make a poop collection contraption as well, but I ran out of time, so that's a small job to save for later. Then I wanted to try out a DIY feeder hack I'd seen online. I got a piece of drain pipe and a 3-way connector. This allows for good feed storage and feeding the chickens with minimal spilling, as they usually scratch and kick their food around. I might make a few more of these. There you have it, a small but mighty improvement to the chicken coop. To be honest, I didn't get to do as much as I'd hoped this week, but something is better than nothing. In my channel's community tab, I asked if you had any questions for a Q&A. I hadn't really envisioned doing a Q&A, but I find it easier to answer your questions rather than just babble on about myself. You've been so open and forthcoming in your comments over these past weeks, so I thought perhaps this could be a way of getting to know each other a little better. Now, Soren and Hannah had kind of the same question. They want to know if I'm still working full-time or if I'm planning on making a living off the farm. Well, that is definitely the goal, to make a living off the farm somehow. It's too small to do conventional farming. However, you know, if you think outside the box, there are probably plenty of options and possibilities. I just have to sift through them and find out what works for me and my farm. I do work full time, and although I do enjoy my work, it takes a lot of time. Not only because it's a full-time job, but because I do commute over an hour each way, and in this time of year, it often means that I leave home before daylight and I arrive home after dark, which kind of is an issue when you want to do work around the farm. Søren also wants to know if I've always been interested in the farming lifestyle or if it's something that's come with time. It's always been a huge thing with me. My grandparents had a farm, dairy cows and grain, and I have such fun memories from when I was little. One of my greatest childhood memories was riding with my grandfather in his John Deere tractor and helping with his cows. And no, it's always been the ultimate thing for me. I've had no bigger dreams, to be honest, than to live on a farm and work the soil and the peace and quiet of the country.
Another great thing about this YouTube community is how we learn from each other. I received a ton of comments about how I should transport the hay bales close to the ground to avoid tipping accidents. Now I know. Thank you guys. Earlier this winter I had a bit of a mishap with my shed. A load-bearing pole had been knocked out of place, and consequently the roof had started to sag. I used my tractor to lift up the sagging portion, and since the hydraulics also sag gradually, it allowed me to hold the pole in place until it had settled. There. Much better.
Now, Jamie asks, do you have the implements for cutting and raking your hay fields, or will you have to get a neighbor to do that? All the way from Toronto, Canada. Jamie, I do have some implements. Here is the infamous hay baler, and next to it is a drum mower. This drum mower came with the farm, and I don't really know if it works properly, but there's no reason why it shouldn't, I suppose. It's a rusty old thing, but when the spring comes, we shall see if we can make it work. And then more implements. We have a tedder and rake. So the drum mower cuts the grass, and this one turns the grass to help dry, and then kind of rakes it into these rows, and then it's the hay baler's turn after that. Now, Fabian wants to know more about the horses. Well, thank you for asking, Fabian. I'll tell you the whole story. Now, I've been an avid horse girl most of my young life. Let's start here. This is Mo. Mo He is a 2.5 years old Appaloosa cross. Now, I knew I wanted a horse at some point. I found him way before I found the farm. And at that time I was absolutely certain that I would not want a foal, and certainly not a colt. So I bought him. He is a funny little thing. He is a character, and he is at the age now where he is a bit of a rascal, but he is also very sweet. Now, I hope that one day he will be a nice trail horse. That's my hope for him. Then, once I bought him, I realized once I moved to a farm, I'm going to need some company for him. Horses shouldn't be alone. They should be with other horses. So then Amira came along. Amira is, I think she's 9 years old now. She is a miniature Appaloosa, but she was born in the Netherlands. And she is a sweetheart. She's very, very sweet. So then I had Mo and I had Amira. Only before I picked her up, her seller told me, "Well, so you like small spotted horses, do you? Well, I have another one for sale." That was Bella. Bella and Amira are 1 year apart, I think. And she is a cutie. And they are good for nothing. And they are tiny, tiny, tiny. I mean, I'm sitting on my knees here, and I'm still much bigger than her. So then I had 3 horses. That wasn't the plan. And I so happened to see a post on Facebook. I always wanted a big draft horse. I always did. So one day I saw a post that says Black Friday sale. And he was so cheap. And nobody else had taken him, and I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. Now, as it turns out, Leonard, he has an illness which is progressive and not curable. This means that his legs are very painful, and in addition to that, he also has some dental issues. So that means that sadly, Leonard is probably not far away from his TTJ. You're not. Let me tell you about my sheep as well, although you didn't ask. I have 9 sheep. Stop eating the mic. And I always wanted sheep. I got them for meat production and Maybe we can do something with the wool as well. I decided years and years ago that I really wanted this breed called Suffolk. The Suffolk breed is a big meat breed from England, and they are very sociable, especially this one. And then I also have this one. He is a Suffolk cross, and he is a companion to our breeding ram. I could sit there all day. You would want me to sit there all day, wouldn't you? This is the same one that you saw on my short. She doesn't have a name though. I haven't named my ewes. Not that I intend to eat them or anything, because I paid good money for them as breeding stock. She is so lovely. Being around animals to me is almost like meditation. They are entirely in the now. They don't think about their future problems or their past woes. They just react to whatever's here and now. And you kind of just, if you want to connect with them, you have to do the same. Yes. This is the life, guys. You may have noticed that most of these won't lay any eggs because most of them are roosters or cockerels or whatever you want to call it. Now, it used to be more hens than cockerels, but we had an unfortunate incident involving a fox. At that point, they were all free range, so they were outside enjoying their lives. A fox is a natural predator, and in all fairness, he's not doing anything wrong. He's just doing what he thinks he needs to do. But he did slaughter, literally, most of my chickens. And after he killed nearly all of them, he then proceeded to go to my neighbor's chicken coop, which was enclosed. He broke in and killed all of her chickens. So it was the day now known as the Big Chicken Massacre. And that fox has got to go. so I've been close. One day I'll get him. I've had a few people advising me to be careful about what kind of information I reveal on YouTube, because there are lots of people who would feel justified in just showing up on my doorstep and somehow believing that I would welcome that. So yes, I am careful. That's why you won't get my last name. That's why you won't get my address. Anyone who has to do research to find out where I live, you're not welcome.
One of these days I'll get that fox.
A few people have asked me if I have family and friends coming over to help out. I do have family, but they don't live nearby, and so we don't really see each other that often. And I have had a couple of occasions where my brothers came to help, but for the most part, no. And who was it that said, not because you need help, but interaction with others is important? True enough. And I have friends at work that I see almost every day. And also I have a really good relationship with my neighbors. I have regular contact with them, and we look out for each other. Kokadu had an interesting question here. If you cut down any trees in your community, do you need a special permission? I don't know, because I only cut down trees that I own, on property that I own. I don't think... I mean, there are some instances where the government has come and protected the area because for whatever reason. Usually around here it's Stone Age findings. which kind of leads me to another question. Candu asks if I am curious if you have any ancient megalithic structures in Sweden. I'm not very familiar with megalithic structures, but we do have a lot of like ancient grave sites, and many are in this area. Rex and Roy asked, about your background, what have you done before in your life? Well, I'm not going to be too specific because I don't want to make it easy for people to find out who I am and where I live. But I've done lots of different things. I have my education is in music. I have worked as an artist manager. I have worked customs. I have worked as a culture consultant. All kinds of different stuff. And now I work in the animal health industry. Let's talk about the dreams and aspirations that I have for my wonderful, beautiful place.
My overall goal is to turn this farm into a full-time project that I can get by from. But for the first few years, I kind of want to just dip my toes in and see what works and what makes sense. To be self-sufficient is absolutely an appealing thought, but it's not the end-all and be-all. My land is divided into 3 main purposes: cultivation, grazing and forestry. Ideally, I should sow new grass seeds, and I'm looking into the cost right now. If I can't do it this year, I'll make do what is already there, just like I did last year. I have a couple of nice grazing areas. I'm going to look into rotational grazing, which is a way of allowing the grazing animals to feed and fertilize, as well as resting the grass. My goal is to work with nature and not against it. As for animals, I hope to expand my sheep flock and to start harvesting meat and wool. Next on the list is probably a couple of pigs that I can feed over the summer and have them ready for harvest before winter. Then I'll evaluate and see if I want to keep them full-time and breed my own. I'll also get some more ducks that can help with slug control in the garden. In the past I've had honeybees, and I think I'm ready for some more. A few people have asked me if I plan on growing vegetables and flowers. You know, I've really enjoyed that in the past, but I'll pace myself this year and only grow a few things. Last year's attempt was mauled by slugs. The forest will require some thinning out to allow for better growth, and I'm going to favor my small oak trees. I'm also interested in diversifying my tree types.
As for the house, I've done a really nice bathroom renovation, which I'm going to show you. I also need to do the hallway, and I want to redo parts of the kitchen. And also I have a guest room / library that I want to redecorate. So that's the plans for the house. I guess the important part is trying to figure out how I can spend more time here on my farm and ease back from my work. So, fingers crossed. Maybe you guys have some ideas. To be honest, I started doing this YouTube thing just because I like to document my journey. But maybe that's an avenue I can look into. Why is this smoke following me? So I got a message from, well, I got a comment from a guy named Brian. And he said that his wife passed away in 2022. And he can't keep up with everything. And he sends me his well wishes. I'm really sorry, Brian. I know it sucks. I can't keep on top of everything either. I think part of the solution is to be okay with that. You know, sometimes good enough is good enough. And my house is usually a mess. The barn is in shambles. But it's okay. No one's gonna arrest me for it. We're losing light here. But just keep in mind, we are told 1 + 1 = 2. I found that when I met my husband, 1 + 1 equaled so much more. And when I subtract him from the equation, I'm still left with a lot more than the one I was. I hope that makes sense. You'll be okay. Just keep on keeping on. I believe in you. Thank you for that precious gift of snot. No, don't eat the microphone.